Energy makes a good party. Makes a really good party. As long as the people are enthusiastic, they're having fun, they're stylish, there's something a little kooky and off the wall about them, they'll add to the whole party scene.
Club Kids, 1980s. The young, rebellious partygoers. This young generation indulged themselves in drugs, sex, and destroying social norms. The nightlife of a club kid was a defiant act against conservative America. The most prominent being Michael Alec and his legion of fellow club kids. Born in 1966, Michael Alec spent his early years in conservative South Bend, Indiana, where he was tormented due to his sexuality. After moving to New York, he met club kid James St. James, who exposed him to the flashy, drug-fueled New York club scene. They created an elite society consisting of clubbers, drag queens, DJs, and party monsters. This included notable club celebrities such as RuPaul, DJ Keoki, Tony, Genitalia, and Freeze. Together, they dominated the underworld.
Now, Michael, you go to things like Burger King or Nathan's Frankfurters in the middle of the night and have spontaneous parties for hundreds? Is that what you do?
Lots of outlaw parties, yeah, sure, lots of us do.
Now, how does that work? I mean, do you raid a place and say suddenly to the McDonald's manager that you have 1,000 friends you want to bring in?
Well, I wouldn't call raiding a place, and we don't tell the manager. But no, it's really word of mouth sort of thing. An idea hits the scene, and somebody will say, you know, let's do a party at Burger King in Times Square, and then through word of mouth, and our group is so closely knit that, you know, within hours the word will be out, and at midnight there'll be 700 people at Burger King.
Alec became a club promoter, and as his fame began, so did his tragic spiral into drug addiction and his eventual prison sentence. His notoriety inspired the 2003 film Party Monster, directed by Fenton Bailey and Randy Barbato, and starring Macaulay Culkin as Alec. A gaudy, strobe light-infused creation chronicling Alec, his legion, and a stylized perspective on the club kids' elite civilization. In one scene, after an intense altercation about drugs between lovers DJ Keoki and Michael was doing bump after bump of Keoki's coke, along with Michael's cat.
Michael, what are you doing?
Sprinkle and I just did all your cocaine.
You did what?
Well, I just figured if you're gonna ruin our relationship by doing drugs, I should see what all the fuss is about.
Oh, great. So now we have 2 drug addicts in the family?
And Sprinkle makes 3. Do you have any more?
What do you mean any more?
More is in more, moron. What part don't you understand, duh face?
Fuck you, I'm out of here.
You're just mad because I did all your stuff, and I didn't even like it. If you walk out that door, I'm gonna kill myself.
This scene encapsulates Alec's obsession with drugs and his desire for a rush above all else. His addiction led him to Angel Melendez, a drug dealer associated with the nightlife. Taking him under his wing as James St. James did with himself, Michael transformed Melendez into a fellow club kid. Their twisted relationship led to Angel's death. A doped-up Alec and Angel had a physical argument over Alec's debt to him. Feeling threatened, Freeze, a roommate and close friend of Alec, attacked Angel with a hammer. Not satisfied, Michael delivered the final blow. They committed murder. They hid the body. But the potential fame and idolization was too much for Michael to resist, and his gossiping about his sin led to his arrest and conviction of manslaughter in 1997. The following is an interview done with Alec after his release.
We didn't know what we were doing. I mean, we were just kind of on autopilot and just like making snap decisions, and none of them good, none of them right. But that's what happens when you're on drugs. You don't even realize that you're not making right, because you're on drugs. So, I'm not using drugs as an excuse or anything, because I was sober when I decided to take drugs. So, I have to take responsibility for everything that happens while I'm on them. On the other hand, you're not in. We weren't on our right minds, obviously.
Michael Alec was free again in 2014 following his 17-year prison sentence. His release ended a quintessential era in his life. Up next is an interview with a former club kid turned teacher, my sister, Athena.
Tell me about your most memorable nightlife experience.
Well, I can't really nail it down to one particular night. I do know that growing up in Boise, Idaho, I always felt a little on the outside of the norm. So this venue was just a way to sort of leave all that behind and get together with other kind of weirdo people that didn't fit in to society there. It was right next door to this gay club for adult men, and I almost feel like it was like the little sister club of that club.
Could you kind of describe more so what the music was like and also how people looked and dressed like?
Yeah, okay, so the music was mainly, because it was a little dance club, people wanted it to be fun, so it was mainly like new wave. It would have Madonna and just sort of, let's see, more of that club vibe. Berlin was a popular band back then, which was very like, they had this popular song called Sex, you know, so it was sort of making you think about and explore sexuality. I ended up, I had a lot of friends who were gay, and so this was a place where they could come and like a safe space where we could just have fun and be who we want to be.
Would you say there was any kind of counterculture voice and movement in you going to these clubs or gay clubs in general?
I do think it was considered counterculture. I feel that we were influenced by the music and by what the musicians were talking about, which at that time, you know, a lot of musicians were talking about just not being part of the mainstream, not feeling part of the mainstream. The musicians were showing us that it was okay to dress like the men, to be more feminine. You know, you had all the big hair back then, and like Adam Ant wore a lot of makeup, and Boy George was a really big influence on the scene at that time. He wore makeup, and it was obvious that he was gay, so it really sort of made that all acceptable to my group, you know, and I think it allowed younger kids to recognize that they were gay and bring that out and feel okay. Forming an identity of who you are as an individual when you're, 15, 16, those high school years, they're really difficult. You need the freedom to be able to do that. That makes you drawn to other people who are like that. Sort of this rebelliousness, this need to rebel against the belief system that you don't, and values that you don't share. And it makes you feel like a minority, which you are, but it really makes you feel strong when you're with other people who are like that.
Well, thank you for letting me interview you.
You're
It was
welcome.
very nice to hear your little background with partying and
It's nice to revisit it.
the cultural.
Sometimes I forget. I mean, I often think, oh, I couldn't wait to get out of Boise, Idaho. But now when I look back, there were some great, I did the best I could and had some great friends and some really fun times.
Club kids were an army of revolutionaries. They expressed themselves in ways America had never seen before. Drugs, sex, freedom. They wanted it all, and all they got. I've been your Club Kids host, DJ Unknown, on 88.1 KZSC, Santa Cruz.
Now, I noticed that it's impossible not to notice, Michael, that kind of men are relatively feminine in the crowd. It's not a macho group. Is gayness or homosexuality a big part of it?
Well, we're all bisexual. We have to buy sex.